firstly, welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to come and chat to us and tell us about your project. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
My name is Kelvin de Silva.
And I'm Kayla-Jade Butkow.
Awesome. So tell us about your project. What was it exactly?
Okay, so basically what we had to do, so obviously hearing aids currently exist, but we had to develop a hearing aid that has the same functionality as those in existence today, but at a fraction of the cost. So there was like a big emphasis on minimizing the cost of this hearing aid. And what the hearing aid had to be able to do was to be adaptable in accordance with the user's audiogram. So it would account for their specific deficits in hearing the audible range. And it also had to have a feature of directionality, so it would give the user, or user-tunable directionality, so that they could pick a direction in which they would like to hear in more and kind of attenuate sounds coming from other directions.
Well, that's super interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
And so what were you able to do with the MATLAB tools for your project?
So with our project, we started out and we were trying to develop a fully functioning hearing aid, and then we hit some technical roadblocks along the way. And so what we decided to do instead was to do a full software simulation and then to do just a small hardware proof of concept. And we used the MATLAB GUI designer and many of MATLAB's toolboxes to perform our software simulation. So that's the GUI that you can see on the screen over there. So that's a full working hearing aid, except that it doesn't use real-time audio, it uses a pre-recorded audio signal.
Okay. And would you say that's how the tools kind of made a difference to your overall project?
Yeah, they made a huge difference to our overall project.
Okay, cool.
I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do, especially with the directionality, like the toolboxes were invaluable.
Exactly.
We wouldn't have been able to do it without them.
Okay. And in terms of like time saving and all that, I'm sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Because especially like Kayla said, with the phased array toolbox helped us a lot. Like instead of like going there and literally hard coding all the maths and stuff, it was literally a few functions and kind of does everything for you, simulates sounds. It's very cool.
Also the audio processing toolbox, we used a lot. The 1/3 octave filters especially were completely invaluable, and we used them for applying our compensatory amplification, and without them we would have had to sit there and calculate our coefficients by hand, and it would have taken us so much longer.
I'm sure with the deadlines that's not
Yeah.
fun either.
Yeah.
That's great. And then in terms of your biggest technical pain, you've briefly touched on what you've experienced, like the value there of mathematics tools, but was there any specific technical pain that you experienced during your project, and how did MATLAB and Simulink help you, or MATLAB specifically, help you?
I would say, like I said, the biggest technical pain was kind of like because obviously with this hearing aid, it's quite reliant on knowing like time delays in between microphones when like sound is hitting it. So like initially, we were doing that on our own and like with literally like hard coding things. And when we stumbled upon the right toolboxes, it's cut our like time required to do like those calculations into fraction.
Yeah,
That's
So
great.
it was very useful.
very helpful.
What was the most valuable thing you've learned from this project?
I think the most valuable thing that I would say we learned is that a lot of the tools that you need exist, and that you shouldn't be like trying to do things from scratch, like designing filters or calculating your coefficients for directionality. Like the tools that you need are out there. It's about how you take those tools and use them to make something that's of value.
And would you say even educating people on the tools available? Because I think half the time people don't really know.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's if somehow people knew like what toolboxes exist, like it would also cut down project time in half.
So would you say your perception of MATLAB has changed before and after your project? Like what was your perception of MATLAB before?
I think we've always we've used MATLAB for many years, and
Yeah.
we love MATLAB a lot.
Very easy to use.
Very easy, but I think I didn't realize like how deep the functionality actually went. It's kind of, you use it for drawing like graphs and doing easy maths, but like the functionality is so much deeper than that. Like to use a GUI and build it to, that's like if you were doing that in say Python, it would take you forever to just to code like where are the axes on the screen, So functionality is so much deeper than I think anybody realizes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
And lastly, where do you think this kind of technology could be used in industry? I mean, obviously we know it's a hearing aid, but where do you guys feel like would you be willing to drive this further after you complete your studies?
So I think in terms of the hearing aid as a whole, there's a massive market, especially in South Africa, because a hearing aid on the market is, you're looking at like 30 or 40,000 rand for 1 ear, and sometimes people need 2 ears.
Yeah.
And the device we've built has got like a lot of functionality, and we developed it for under 2,000 rand.
Yeah.
So I think especially in South Africa, and another thing we've realized is that in like maybe schools in the rural areas, there is a need for inexpensive hearing aids, because a lot of children just don't know that they have hearing deficiencies, and then they go through school and they don't get the education that they need because they aren't aware that they can't hear.
Yeah.
So I think that there would be a big market for that in South Africa.